Hello and welcome to FATV.
Welcome to Discussing Fitchburg Now. This week's show, we have a storytelling segment by David Medina, Kamishibai Storytime, and we're going to play, and David's going to tell you that story in just a minute, and that's for the first half. And I also have a co-host, a special co-host, my mini-me, Nikki Squalia. She will also be joining me for the Storytime segment. Hi, Nikki. So we're going to have David is here to tell our story. And then in the second half, we have the North County Land Trust that's coming on to tell us about all the events that they have going on. So we're going to start right now with David Medina doing his Kamishibai Storytime. Okay? You're on, David.
All right. Hundreds of years ago, the Buddhist monks in Japan invented Kamishibai. It's a marvelous way of storytelling and teaching people who didn't know how to read. When television was invented, the Gaito Kamishibaya, or storyteller, disappeared from the streets of Japan. Nowadays, Kamishibai has returned with stories that teach people how to respect life and liberty, and how to always live in peace. Not very long ago, a young man called Haruto lived in Japan. Haruto was a pilot, and he loved flying high up amongst the cotton wool clouds, doing incredible acrobatics in the sky. Until one sad day, a terrible war broke out, and he had to fly a fighter plane. It was horrible. Haruto flew amongst the black clouds and did impossible acrobatics to dodge the bombs. When everything was over, he decided that he would never fly again and that he would never go to war again. And that's why early one morning, Haruto left his house by bike, never to come back again. From that moment onwards, he started to travel all over the country, stopping in a different little village each day. Crack, crack, crack. He parked his bicycle in the village square and announced his arrival by banging together his hyoshigi, which were 2 blocks of wood. The people, feeling curious, came out to see who was making that noise, and Haruto sold them candies, because candies are sweet, unlike wars, which are bitter. Afterwards, while the children and the not-so-young ones were enjoying the candies around him, Haruto prepared the Kamishibai that he carried around on his bicycle. Kamishibai is a Japanese word that means paper theater. Haruto's Kamishibai was a little wooden theater with 3 doors, and he fed beautiful pictures through that, had the story written on the back. So the only one who could read it was himself. And when he opened the doors of his little theater, he started to tell magical stories that taught people not to argue, so that nobody would live through that terrible war or experience ever again. And when Haruto told his stories, whoever listened to him smiled and forgot, and the only hate that they held in their hearts was a hate of fights and unpleasant words. Once the story was over, Haruto left, leaving the sound of applause behind him and the tracks of his bike in the sand. Haruto had become a Gaito Kamishibai, a Kamishibai storyteller, an art that some monks had invented hundreds and hundreds of years ago in Japan. When Haruto finished traveling over the whole island that forms Japan, he crossed the sea and carried on telling his stories in any town, any place, to people of all races and religions. And they all listened carefully to him, even those who didn't like his stories, even though it's true that there weren't many people like that, hardly any in fact. Because for the Kamishibai storyteller, it was as important for him to respect others as to be respected. The years went by, and Haruto felt happy. The only thing that he missed was flying his plane like before the war broke out. It is said that when he was very, very, very old man, he became a white dove. And it is said that this dove flies high, and wherever it goes, it reminds people of how horrible wars are. And his stories, like this one, continue to travel around the world, told by Kamishibai storytellers like me that want all of you to live happily and in peace.
Thank you, David. We're going to cut to a short break. We're going to move the stage out of the way. We're going to have a conversation with David Medina, the Kamishibai storyteller.
Hello and welcome to FATV, Fitchburg Access Television. Each week we take pride in providing some of the best public access television programs in New England. From FATV live sporting events, city meetings, and school functions, to weekly shows such as Barbara and You, Inside and Discussing Fitchburg, Sports Weekly, Weekly Wellness, and Our City. Our dedicated staff of industry professionals and hard-working volunteers is here each week working behind the scenes, making it all happen. Besides on air, our programming is also shown live online, where you can see our shows in beautiful high definition. You can also search through our archive of past shows and watch anytime at your leisure. But did you know you can also be part of the action? Become a member of FATV, and you gain access to all the equipment, studio space, and classes that FATV has to offer. You can create your own show, volunteer for exciting live events in our studio, or all around the city in our high-quality mobile broadcast truck. The possibilities are endless. For a small fee, you can become an individual member. Or for a little more, you and a group of friends can become part of a rising trend in the future of television. From sports shows to news shows, civic events, and talk shows, you can be in the driver's seat by directing and even starring in your own production. Also, students are free. FATV staff can assist you by getting your new show up and running with professional industry standard equipment, TV studio time, and private editing suites. All you need are friends to help out, and before you know it, you will be on the air. So if you have a great idea for a TV show and want to share it with the world, stop by 175 Kimball Street, Fitchburg for a free tour of our facility. You can also contact us at 978-343-0834 or email us at info@fatv.org. Fitchburg Access Television, working together for a stronger community.
Discussing Fitchburg now. We're talking with David Medina, the storyteller in action. So what's your tagline?
Well, it's the Kamishibai storyteller, but oh, I see what you're saying. Storytelling in motion. Storytelling
in motion.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
David Medina does storytelling in motion. You're the Kamishibai storyteller.
Sure. Yeah,
yes. Yeah. And so we just saw the storytelling in motion. So tell us about how you got started in doing this.
Oh, sure. Well, I've always been interested in giving back. Wherever I've lived, I've always tried to give back of my time, volunteer in different things. So I moved back to my hometown, which is Fitchburg, and I decided that rather than sitting back and complaining about what I did not like about Fitchburg, I was going to be proactive. So I moved back thinking differently this time. And I started to be proactive and look around at different ways. And one of the ways was reading to children. And the problem with that was because of my crazy work schedule, it was hard finding the right time when I could fit their schedule. So I thought I need to start something that's my own so that way I can do what I enjoy, give back, and it's mine. So I'm making up the dates, not anyone else. And so
you started this storytelling in motion with this Kamishibai kind of focus.
It wasn't my original idea. Originally I thought, you know what, why don't I just create a YouTube channel? And this way I could reach children that are in Fitchburg, but those children that are not in Fitchburg.
And you've done videos.
I have.
I have seen the videos.
I have. Thank you for watching. Yeah. So originally when I started doing that, I was overwhelmed because I saw other videos out there and I thought, oh gosh, I can't compete. You know, I can't do this. So I continued looking, and that's when we found the whole Kamishibai that's it's used in Japan, but it's also being used in Spain, South America, Puerto Rico. In Canada and in the US, you don't see it as much. It's slowly creeping in. People like me bring it in. But I fell in love with the concept, with everything that you can do with Kamishibai. So then I looked further and I found this particular company that's in Madrid, Spain, and I went with them because they provide the little paper puppets, along with other tools to make reading time even that much more fun, with the sound as well.
In addition to the stage, there's paper puppets?
Well, there's little paper puppets, and a couple that come with each story. When I perform live, that's when I tend to use them. I'll have the kids get involved, and the sound didn't work this evening, but there is sound normally as well that goes along with the story. So you're hitting different senses with the kids. And then I have my YouTube channel, which I said, you know what? I'm gonna do it anyway. So I started doing it because the Kamishibai is more for when I do live.
Because you have the stage there.
Right. So with the YouTube channels, I've just been going to my local public library and getting books there and sharing those on YouTube. I do my English, and then I have my Spanish as well.
So you do them both at different times, or?
I have different stories. Some books do come in bilingual, and I can offer that as well.
Oh, here up now on the screen, we have the next event that you have, April 24th on Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. in the auditorium of the Fitchburg Public Library. You're doing a Kamishibai story time.
Yes.
And we'll be able to see, is it 2 stories?
Yes, so I'll be doing this particular story because it's the one I want to introduce. I want to always include this one because it talks about
like Kamishibai.
Right. So they understand what it is that they're looking at. And then I have the Sun Cat, which has another life lesson of itself. So, yeah. And all these stories have
that one on April 24th.
Right. So I'll be doing 2 stories that particular day.
Have you ever heard of Kamishibai, Nicolette?
No.
What do you think? Do you have any questions for David? You've gotten a lot of stories read to you.
What do you think of the style of this type of method of storytelling versus the book?
Well,
don't know?
Yeah, I don't know.
With the little stage, what do you think?
Well, I think that the story was good, and yeah.
The pictures tend to be bigger. That's why the cards, just to kind of have them focus in.
And you don't have to awkwardly hold a book.
Right, right. And then
as the storyteller.
Right, and there's no letters in the front. Sometimes I can have kids participate, and they read the story instead. And that's fun for them, and they get to...
Because it has the words on the back of the story card?
Each card, right. It has the words in the back. And
so it's meant to be told to an audience.
Correct.
Kamishibai.
Correct.
Is.
And in the back, there's the Spanish version, there's the French, German. I stopped at Spanish and English, but...
Is it all in the same card?
It's all in the same card.
Oh.
That's another feature that this particular company offered. That's why I went with them. So it's a lot of pluses. And then with my YouTube channel, what I'm doing there is I'm making it where I'm involving them and engaging the children. So in between the story, I pop up and ask questions, just to kind of test their listening skills and their memory skills as well.
Is that when you use the puppets?
No, that's for my YouTube channel. When I do regular books, I thought, well, I can't just sit there and just read. I didn't want to do that because there's other channels that do that, and I didn't want to be as, not that I'm saying that they're boring, but I wanted to engage the children a little bit more. So this way, by doing that, I pop up in the videos from time to time. Sometimes you see just the pages and you hear my voice in the background, but then I'll pop up with questions, testing their listening skills, and that keeps them, you know, glued on to the video in hopes that they can answer the questions correctly.
So you're doing Kamishibai in the YouTube videos.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Nicolette, you're a big fan of YouTube videos. Do you have a question?
Well, there's one thing I want to say. When you say you let the other kids read, well, when you said that, it made me think that, like, in school, like, when you're reading and you're like, I already know this, and they say, well, why don't you read it? That's what it reminds me of. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and it depends on the age group too. So depending on the age group that I'm working with, maybe I could have some kids come behind the Kamishibai and read to their friends. But it all depends on the age group.
What's typical age group of your Kamishibai story time?
I personally feel it's more, it goes better towards kindergarten through third. Is she in third?
Yep.
Yeah, I feel like third grade, maybe even fourth, a couple of them. But I feel like fifth grade, that's it.
It's not cool anymore when you're a fifth grader?
Right, unless we're involving them. They can draw the pictures, the cards that I'll slide into the Kamishibai. Again, there's so many things that we can do with this. They can create the story, they can create the illustrations, maybe they can read to their younger family members or friends. They can be the leader and read to the first grade. You know, that makes the fifth grade cool, and they're leaders. So
how did you get into storytelling? Just as you know, as a beginning, you said that you come from Fitchburg and you want to give back, and you felt like storytelling is the way. How did you come to that conclusion?
Well, I've always believed. You know, back in high school, I did that children's literature class. And we even had to create our own book and write a little children's book.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
Children's literature.
Yes, and ever since it's been ingrained in me, you know, that reading out loud to children is essential. Even when they're able to read on their own, you still want to be able to read out loud to children. So I know how important it is, and so I felt that was the route I wanted to go. On a just a little bit selfish as of my own as well, is that I'm doing it for them, of course, but I really enjoy it. So I needed to pick something that I was going to enjoy and want to keep doing. Otherwise, I won't really be into it. I wouldn't be doing the YouTube videos. So I have to believe it, and I have to enjoy it. And I was in college to be a teacher. I didn't continue elementary education. And I remember working as a teacher assistant, and that was one of my favorite memories. It was a kindergarten bilingual class, and whenever we had our reading circle, we had a ball. I would bring, you know, my plush toys, and you know, and the best listener would get hugs from Jack the Rabbit, and it was just fun. It's a lot of fun. So I thought, you know what, this is what I want to do. It's a good thing for them, and it's a good thing for me.
So what are you looking at now? So you have we have Kamishibai Storytime. This is your first. Is this your first story time?
I performed once at McKay. It was the first grade class. That was my first one.
Oh, so you broke the ice there.
With the first grade class, that's right. And then the second one was supposed to be at the library, but then this opportunity crossed my path.
So this is your second.
That's right. That's right. But this is my first TV appearance.
Fantastic. Congratulations. You did amazing. So Wednesday, April 24th, we'll be able to see you live. Bring the kids. It's best suited for kindergarten age 3rd grade, but a little younger, a little older is great.
Some of these stories are good for all ages. I mean, as an adult, really, who doesn't enjoy children's books? It's almost like it gives us a chance to be a kid again. So, and it gives us a chance to get rid of the adult, grown-up responsibilities and just be a child at that very moment. Enjoy that child's book. I think this is a story. Kamishibai is something that that a lot of people don't know, children and grown-ups alike. So, I think the parents will have a ball.
Have you ever seen this kind of storytelling, Nicolette? No.
No, not at all. None in my little child
You
life.
as a mom, as a grown-up, what do you think?
I love it. I love the fact that you can read the story and you can read it from the card. I mean, just the setup for the storyteller just seems to make perfect sense. I wonder what other stories are available in the Kamishibai cards.
Well, I started with 8. By the way, I also started this whole project with the love of friends and family. I did have to start a GoFundMe. This is the first time I've ever done such a thing.
Oh, did you?
But I thought, I'm giving back to the community. I give of my time, and if they can give a couple bucks out of their pockets and help me out, then that would be great. And that's exactly what happened. And I started with 8 stories. So the GoFundMe is still open, and I could always order more in the future, but I think this is good to start out with. It won't be the same group all the time, so I've already read this one twice, the Kamishibai story. So,
so we have so we're going to hear 2 stories at the Fitchburg Public Library on April 24th.
Yes.
And what are your future plans?
My future plans is I have a date booked in at the YMCA, the after-school program.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'll be doing that because that's that week that they're on vacation. And then I am waiting on response from the Leominster Public Library. So I'd like to go to libraries just because that is accessible to everyone. And then I'd like to head up different schools, Rheingold as well, McKay, the bilingual teacher at McKay heard about what I'm doing, and she probably most likely wants me to go in there as well. So.
And you could do the English and the Spanish version,
yes,
right, back to back? Or do you do different stories in different languages?
I would just do, if I chose to do the Spanish of the Gaito, the Kamishibai storyteller, then I would just do that one that particular day in Spanish for that class. And then the other story, the Sun Cat, is basically the lesson is behind that story is no one is better than anyone else. And then there's other stories where they teach us to respect Mother Nature and what she gives us, and that money is not always everything. And then the other one is how to resolve situations using your words and your brain versus your fists or violence. So each story has a nice life lesson. Yes.
A good life lesson.
Yes, yes, yes. So that's why I like them.
Now, you were talking about do-it-yourself Kamishibai. Is there any plans for that? Can you buy blank cards, or do you just make them?
I haven't gotten that far, but I'm almost sure that probably I could just take the size of the story card, and Staples could probably recreate the card for us. If the teachers wanted to do something like that, then they would provide the cards, and I would go in there and with the tools, and we could do this together, type of deal.
That sounds like a fun
Well, with
activity.
the first grade class, once we finished our story, we did an activity, because they come with activities too. They come with little cards where they allow the student to practice their sequence, their story sequencing. And so they have to remember what happened first, second, third, all the way up to the end. So each person had an opportunity to come up and try to get it in order. Once they did that, the teacher had them write down, practice writing skills, write down what their favorite part was of the story, and then they drew pictures of that favorite part of their story.
That's almost kind of like an interactive creation of the story.
Yeah. So there's different things. I just go and read, and once they started doing that, I picked up my stuff and I left and I let them do their thing.
Yeah.
So.
Nicolette, what do you think about creating your own Kamishibai story? If you've written stories, what do you think? Would you be interested?
I have no idea.
It would be lots of fun, and it'd be your own story. It's always fun to tell your own story.
Are some of them longer than others?
Sure. This one was, I believe, maybe 12 story cards, where some might be 15. It depends, but not much longer.
Yeah, they're all pretty much set for the same age category, so you can only have so long of a story.
Yeah. Yes. So it's about 10 to 15 story cards.
And so you have a YouTube channel.
Right.
And what's the YouTube channel?
Oh boy, it's long. It's youtube.com/David Medina, the number 4, and the word all. All together. So David Medina for all.
David Medina for all on YouTube.
Correct.
That's not that long.
Right.
That's easy enough to find. And you have a Facebook page?
That's right. And then the Facebook is facebook.com/StorytellingInMotion1, the number 1. No space in between. And then I have my Instagram. For those Instagrammers, it's instagram.com/ this one's a bit long, storytelling_in_motion.
Yeah, that's pretty simple. Storytelling_in_motion.
Right.
But if you search storytelling in motion, then you will see your smiling face.
I would hope so.
Right? With the books.
I would hope so. I'm going to test that.
Any other good opportunities to see you coming up for the public? We have the Fitchburg Public Library, and you might be at Leominster Public Library. Any other big plans? I noticed that in your graphics, you have a traveling guy on a bike with the stage.
Yes, that was the little guy here.
Yeah, the traveling storyteller. Is that what emotion? You go to different places? What about anything?
As of right now, no. In the summer, I will try to be more active. There's something going on at the Fitchburg Public Library where they serve lunch to families that come in. And Nicole, the librarian at the youth library, she's really interested in having me come during that time. So I'll probably be doing that. And then any other community event that I can sort of schedule around my crazy schedule at work, I will try to do that. But as of right now, I'm kind of hitting the spots that are more of a sure thing sort of deal, and still be accessible to the public, like the libraries. And besides, I want kids to come to the library.
Oh, yeah. So what did you do? You're not in childhood education. What do you do now?
I'm a flight attendant. Yes.
Flight attendant.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's
so
why it's a crazy schedule. Yeah.
You fly all around, huh? Where do you go?
Nowadays, I mostly do domestic. A lot of West Coast, Los Angeles, Phoenix, that sort of deal. But
that's kind of
domestic.
exciting.
Yeah.
You must hear a lot of good stories in that job.
Sure. Like any job. Yeah.
Some stories you can't talk about. Do you have a question, Nicolette, before we end? Raising your hand.
You can tell. Yes, I think.
Okay. Ask David.
Okay. So, when you say that, like, in the picture box, like, you open up the box and, like, you show the pictures like that, like.
How do I slide them in, or?
Like, it just feels like that, like, when all the parts that you are just taking it out and putting it back in, those parts that are not there, it just looks like appeared.
I know. That's what makes it
cool. It's like magical.
Unlike turning a page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Kamishibai.
Kamishibai.
Kamishibai story time. So we'll be able to go see that in a little while, Nicolette. And everyone at home, you'll be able to go see that Wednesday, April 24th at the Fitchburg Public Library in the auditorium at 6 p.m. And going into the future, you can find out more dates at Storytelling in Motion on Facebook.
Sure. Yeah.
And you can go on Instagram to David Medina for all on YouTube. And you can go to Instagram at Storytelling in Motion. So
I'm even on Twitter.
Oh, Twitter. I mean, all the social media. But if you search David Medina, Storytelling in Motion on Google, I'm sure you'll find them, right? So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you
David.
for having me. Thank you.
And thank you, Nicolette, our co-host.
Yay.
We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to be talking with representatives from the North County Land Trust. Okay.
Hello and welcome to FATV, Fitchburg Access Television. Each week we take pride in providing some of the best public access television programs in New England. From FATV live sporting events, city meetings, and school functions, to weekly shows such as Barbara and You, Inside and Discussing Fitchburg, Sports Weekly, Weekly Wellness, and Our City. Our dedicated staff of industry professionals and hard-working volunteers is here each week working behind the scenes, making it all happen. Besides on air, our programming is also shown live online, where you can see our shows in beautiful high definition. You can also search through our archive of past shows and watch anytime at your leisure. But did you know you can also be part of the action? Become a member of FATV, and you gain access to all the equipment, studio space, and classes that FATV has to offer. You can create your own show, volunteer for exciting live events in our studio, or all around the city in our high-quality mobile broadcast truck. The possibilities are endless. For a small fee, you can become an individual member. Or for a little more, you and a group of friends can become part of a rising trend in the future of television. From sports shows to news shows, civic events, and talk shows. You can be in the driver's seat by directing and even starring in your own production. Also, students are free. FATV staff can assist you by getting your new show up and running with professional industry standard equipment, TV studio time, and private editing suites. All you need are friends to help out, and before you know it, you will be on the air. So if you have a great idea for a TV show and want to share it with the world, stop by 175 Kimball Street, Fitchburg for a free tour of our facility. You can also contact us at 978-343-0834 or email us at info@fatv.org. Fitchburg Access Television, working together for a stronger community.
Welcome back to Discussing Fitchburg Now. I'm Sam Squalia, and up now we are talking with North County Land Trust,
Executive Director.
Executive Director, I know I just said that, Anna Wilkins, and Robin Austin, your TerraCorps service member. Now, what is a TerraCorps service member?
That's a great question. So TerraCorps is an AmeriCorps program. So I am doing a year of service with North County Land Trust, which is a nonprofit in and around Leominster and the greater Worcester County area.
So you're part of AmeriCorps.
Yes.
AmeriCorps' TerraCorps. And even though it's spelled corp,
Yes.
it's pronounced core.
Yes, that's correct.
just for background. Yeah. All right, so North County Land Trust. What are all the things that are going on with North County Land? There's too much to talk about, right?
I know. Well, when we made our list, like I first of all, I had to keep these notes handy because there's so much for us to discuss, but or mention. But for those viewers who don't know who North County Land Trust is, we're a private land conservation organization. We're regional. Our offices are based in Leominster, but
at the Doyle Conservation Center.
Yep,
that beautiful building.
Yep, we rent
right
from
on Lindell Ave.
Yes, we rent from the trustees. It's a great place to visit. And we focus on preserving the natural resources and the landscapes of the north central Massachusetts. So Fitchburg is where we were founded, and we own and manage the Crocker Conservation Area, as you know.
Up at the end of Prospect Street?
Yep, that's right. and we run outings and programs having to do with nature.
Owl prowls. Walks. Do you do the weekly Wednesday walks still?
We still do.
Even this whole winter.
Yes.
I haven't made them.
Yes.
They look fun.
Yes, they are very fun. We have two of our board members, Betty Reed and Mary Kringen, are volunteer to lead these walks. They're actually on Tuesdays.
Right now, they're
right now.
Okay.
For a long time, they were on Wednesdays, and throughout the winter, they're in the mornings, which I know is hard for people who work. But then once the ice melts and the sun is out, we switch the timing, which will be fairly soon. But those are,
and if
that's
you follow
a
the
great way.
Facebook page, the North County Land Trust Facebook page, then you'll see all this information. They do they do little recurring events, so you can see everything that's going on. Oh, there it is right there.
Yeah.
NorthCountyLandTrust.org. That'll lead you right to the Facebook page, or that's at North County Land Trust.
Yeah,
Right on Facebook and Instagram.
all that.
You get all the good nature pictures on Instagram.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's so easy. And we love to have people share and tag us as well. I do want to say a little bit about how we do our work, just that we work with communities and private landowners to help them conserve the lands that are important to them. This is the next topic that we wanted to talk about, which I'm going to pause that thought for a minute and have Robin talk about our current project. This is at Underwood Road Conservation Area.
Where's this? Where's Underwood Road?
Underwood Road. This is actually in Hubbardston.
Okay.
But the reason why I want to talk about this is because Robin, this is one of her service projects this year.
Oh, the mobility-friendly trail.
Yes.
And so this is an accessible trail for all abilities.
Not all abilities.
Okay, many
I will
abilities.
let Robin take the floor and talk a little more about your project and what you're doing there.
Thank you, Anna.
Yeah.
Yes, so this is our mobility-friendly trail project, and the goal here was to look at how we could expand access on our trails in different ways than sometimes people expect. So when we talk about accessibility, sometimes people think paving, right? And we were looking at what other ways can we expand accessibility for seniors and families with young children, folks with a variety of mobility challenges. And so we're looking at this trail as sort of an experiment to really test out how we're going to put together these trails and then be able to trial them there and as well as in our other conservation areas. So this trail will be natural surface, so we're not bringing any outdoor or other materials in.
Yeah.
So it'll be dirt.
Foreign materials, yep.
Yep, it'll be dirt, but nice and wide and level. We actually designed it to the specifications of a rugged wheelchair you can see in
Right
our
up here.
photo.
Do you see this lady up here?
Yeah.
She's, she, oh gosh, I'm going to mess up her name because I didn't write it.
I believe it's Janae.
Janae, that's right. Janae is a Marine Corps vet.
Okay.
And she was injured in her service. And these grit chairs are actually
Grit chair?
Grit chair, G-R-I-T. And they are, their motto is take it off the pavement.
Take it off the pavement.
And it's not motorized or anything. So there's actually powered by levers, so you can manually power this on.
So you don't have to touch the big tires?
Right. And it uses lever power to really make it even more easy to use and over
torque.
The terrain, right? So so we're working with North Quabbin Trails Association.
Yes.
Forgive me for stealing your show. And they're working with Grit Chair, and so now we're working with Grit Chair to design these trails so that they're really easy for these grit chairs. And it's a wonderful thing to see because
I've never heard of the grit chair.
Yeah,
It's like a fat bike.
We need to get a grit chair in here so you can see it, or have you come out and see the grit chair in action on the trails.
That would be fantastic. I was actually talking with some other people about we should have like a mobility day where people that aren't in wheelchairs try them and see how easy or difficult it is to get around if in a wheelchair. And maybe then you have a greater appreciation for things like accessibility to trails.
Right.
You know, if you are in a wheelchair and everyone else is like, let's go hiking. You're like, oh,
yeah,
well, I guess I'll see you guys. I can't go.
Right. And if you can know that there's a trail that's going to be, you know, not too long, no steep hills, you know what to expect, and you have an injury that you're healing from. You want to go for a walk in the woods. You don't know, you know, how steep the trail is or if you can do it. These mobility, what we're calling mobility friendly, you know it's going to be only a third of a mile. There's resting benches along the way that, you know, it's not going to be, you know, oh gosh, what if I get halfway through and I need to rest? Or, oh gosh, what if, you know, if the terrain is too uneven for me. You don't have to worry about that.
That all is a great overview to my next question of what constitutes a mobility-friendly trail. So what are the criteria?
Yeah. We made that term up.
Did you make up the criteria and determine
and talk
it yourself?
about that. That's good.
Yeah, so when I was looking into how to make our trails more accessible, pretty much there are guidelines for how to make a trail ADA compliant, which might be something that people are familiar with, and then there's guidelines on how to build a typical trail. So what we started doing—
So there's trail guidelines for ADA?
Yes, there are.
Outdoor nature trails?
Yes, they tend to be focused on federal and state agencies that want to improve ADA accessibility. But that wasn't necessarily what we were looking at doing at Underwood.
Is it much more complicated? Like, does it include paving or?
So it includes, most of the requirements include bringing in outside materials, so things like stone dust, as well as making sure that there's accessible parking, there's width and slope requirements. It gets pretty technical, but we wanted to see if there were some places between a normal trail and an ADA accessible trail that there was some space for us to expand accessibility. And that's why we were sort of building this trail to the specifications of the grit chair that Anna has been talking about. And so we were working with the manufacturer of the grit chair to learn what that chair is capable of doing, and also expanding that to the experiences that we've heard of folks who use braces or who have small children or who are seniors who are looking for a level trail that doesn't have a lot of obstructions.
Braces, is that like a walker?
Yeah. Sure, canes or
braces, like a knee brace.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's where we came to the specifications that we're using for this trail, which include just its width, how level it is, and also an attempt to make sure the slope is pretty even. And that's more for ease of use for other people and not necessarily this wheelchair.
So what's the minimum width?
For this, we're going with 4 feet. The grit chair needs about 3 feet, including, you know, caretakers behind it if you want some support while you use the chair. But in areas, it goes much wider, 6 to 7 feet, to allow for space for example, rest areas, groups, passing, that kind of thing. We actually have a spot. So the photo in our slide on the bottom left is a photo of a stone wall and of some green woods, which is an area that we're hoping to place a series of benches and have a wider spot for gatherings and other educational events, which is another piece of this trail, is really making it a space that people can come to and congregate with a wide variety of abilities.
Right, and it's also a pilot project. We want to, if this is successful and it seems, and we get the feedback from the community and the users that this is a good next step towards, you know, that full ADA accessibility, which is
which might be very expensive and complicated,
and the upkeep is a whole other thing.
But you want something better than your standard trail.
We want to work towards breaking down barriers that people have, and so this is, you know, an achievable step for us. Then we want to bring the next. Actually, Crocker is the next on our list.
Crocker Conservation is the next on the
Fitchburg.
mobility-friendly list.
That's right. That's right. And so we would love to have you come out when. Bobby Curley from the North Quabbin Trail Association and Janae, she volunteered to take her grit chair and come out there to assess those trails for us, and maybe you can come along and see that.
Are there 2 grit chairs?
There are.
Because I would love to try that.
You should.
I would.
And there's also we're going to have an opening day for the trail May 3rd in Hubbardston, and we'll have example trails chairs there too. But also, I want to just briefly mention before we move on that there is a GoFundMe campaign to complete the Underwood portion of the trail.
The Underwood portion in Hubbardston.
In Hubbardston. So
right
if you're excited about it and you want to encourage us to do this, you can go to our website or the GoFundMe page and make a donation. We'd really appreciate it.
So how much of the trail have you made mobility friendly?
So right now it's a third of a mile.
And you're trying to make it?
And no, so the whole loop is a third of a mile. And that's gonna, what do you want to say about this?
Yes, sure. Yeah. So our existing trail is in the shape of a lollipop, essentially, and the first maybe 100 to 200 yards, which was originally an unfinished driveway, which is what sort of prompted us to say, maybe this is a good place to start an accessible trail. The actual trail that we're building here is one that didn't exist at all before, so we're cutting it essentially from scratch.
So it sounds fairly expensive. If you can have rocks and ledge and trees and
the total cost of the project for us is about $2,500. So it's not that expensive
for the whole
for putting putting in the whole trail.
$2,500.
I know, and so I feel like we can totally fundraise for that. Mm-hmm. And we're about halfway there now. Mm-hmm. So if we could just get the rest, then that would really help us out and make it seem like this is something that's valuable and that people want to see more.
We can find that on your website.
Yes,
northcountylandtrust.org.
That's right.
Yes.
All right.
So let's. I want to talk about some of the upcoming events in Fitchburg because these are
upcoming events in Fitchburg. Can we?
Yeah.
Throw these on the main. Almost.
Her magic powers aren't working yet. I'll just mention it.
Hold on.
So there it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So besides the Tuesday weekly walks.
Yes.
At Crocker.
Crocker
on April
series.
Yes. So in the birding series, we have 3 birding events. The one on April 14th is a warbler walk.
Warbler?
Yes. They're the small little migratory birds that come through, bright yellow plumage, very beautiful songs.
And what time is that?
That one is early because the birds get up early. That's at 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Yeah.
And is that
a good way to start your day?
Is that a Saturday?
Yes, I believe so.
Ooh,
I think so.
Saturday or Sunday.
Okay.
It is a weekend day. One of those days.
Weekend day.
Yeah. And then, of course, something near and dear to your heart, April 20th is our Crocker Conservation Area Earth Day Cleanup.
Earth Day Cleanup. I love Earth Day Cleanup. So this is trash picking up. This is cutting branches in the way. What else?
Mostly cleaning up trash, cleaning up branches, picking up things. Sprucing up the trails, and but definitely.
Will you have tools available? Do people just show up, or should they bring things?
Yeah, they can. I would recommend wearing shoes you don't mind getting mucky and clothes you don't mind getting mucky.
Long
Wear gloves.
To tuck your pants into.
Yep. Bring your own gloves. We'll bring some as well if people don't. And if you have trash pickers, that's always handy. But we'll bring bags and we'll bring other tools. If you need trail tools, we have a lot of.
Is April 20th Saturday or?
Yes, it is a Saturday.
Is it? Perfect.
Great. Perfect.
Great.
This is great. In
Caterpillar
June,
Lab?
Caterpillar Lab is coming.
What is Caterpillar Lab?
Oh my goodness. And I have to mention, huge thanks to Fitchburg Cultural Council because this is they funded this Caterpillar Lab. So Caterpillar Lab, they are the best. Caterpillar Lab is a man, Sam Jaffe here, pictured here. He raises caterpillars and brings them live samples of these caterpillars and has the associated plants. So every caterpillar has to feed on a certain plant or a certain group of plants.
Really?
So he brings the plants, he brings the caterpillars, he has examples of what they turn into, the absolute live moths and butterflies that they turn into. He talks about all sorts of things. He has eggs hatching under a microscope projected on a screen, so you can see them like hatching or pupating into the. It's just really cool.
And where is that? That's
at the library. Yep.
Is that also on a weekend? Oh, it's in June. We don't know the exact date.
We're trying to, so we also have a caterpillar lab coming to the Leominster Library. We're trying to coordinate, so it's the same day.
So it's the same day. Yeah, that makes sense.
But anyway, so to be determined, but sign up for our
and a garden
newsletter.
tour.
Garden tour in July. No, this is our own garden tour. We had our first one last year. It went wonderfully.
Oh, I heard about this. You went to different places in the city.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So this is a event where we have a few, the people who love to garden usually also love nature and love the work that we do to preserve our natural environment. And so gardeners have who do gardening and have these beautiful showcase gardens.
We're talking like flower gardens.
Flower gardens, manicured
largely,
lawns.
right?
Yes, yes.
There are some incredible gardens in Fitchburg.
Yes, there are some, and it's Fitchburg area, so some in Westminster, some in, I don't know how far, I'm not organizing it, but, and the list isn't out yet, but I just wanted to give a heads up because it's such a fabulous
That's July
thing.
13th.
And that's July 13th.
That's usually on a Saturday.
Yeah, yes.
And so this is the kind of thing, it's like the historical house tours in Fitchburg where
you gotta buy
a ticket,
yep, you get
then
the
you get a map, and it's a self-guided tour around the gardens.
That's right.
And they'll stamp your stamp your ticket.
That's right. And last year it was a rainy day and it was still gorgeous.
Oh, good.
It was still gorgeous.
Oh, nice.
So really
love it. I'm going to put that in my calendar. And then the Tuesday weekly walks, which might go to Wednesday, and then eventually we'll go later in the day, depending on the sun.
Yeah, and that is so that's the events part.
Yeah.
Do we still have time for more?
We have 8 minutes.
But wait, there's more.
What do you got?
So I just wanted to give a shout out to the fact that we just heard from the Baker administration that the landscape partnership grants have been awarded, and we're partners with Mass Fish and Wildlife and Mount Grace Land Trust to do a landscape partnership grant in Templeton of over 500 acres.
Now, what does that mean?
So the landscape partnership grant, so there's funding at the state level to do some of, the minimum is you have to have 500 acres to have that done. And if you know anything about Templeton, there's the Fernald Corporation land, the Fernald Farm. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It's a beautiful landscape. Farming, there's about 50 acres of farmland. There's 500 acres of, or let's say 460 acres of forest and mixed like wetlands and ponds, and it's all contiguous. And we're so excited to be partners with both the state and Mount Grace to work on pulling all of that together to save for as conservation land.
So it's a grant to be able to purchase the land
and save it.
Put a conservation restriction on it?
Well, most of it will be owned by the state.
Owned by the
and then Mount Grace and Mount Grace and North County Land Trust will hold conservation restrictions on private land that abuts it. Yeah, yeah. So we're working, all the three of us together collaboratively.
And now, why is that important? Why is it important to preserve 500 acres of forest lands in Templeton?
Well, you know, for me, well, first of all, this particular project it will be fish and wildlife land, so it will be accessible to hunters and anglers, and and also, and the ag land will be actively managed as well.
Ag land,
agricultural land, yeah, will be actively managed as well. But I think, you know, as we're all feeling, you know, the natural resources that we have in our area, we take them for granted. But if you go elsewhere in the state, and we're starting to feel those development pressures more and more nowadays as the housing industry comes out this way, and as the housing, you know, prices in the Boston area are going through the roof, and people are looking for more and more affordable places to live.
And that nice patch of land that used to be
there is now
might now become a condo development.
Right, or or whatever. And I'm not anti-development, but I think that as the transition goes more and more towards development, we're going to see those big open spaces that we take for granted kind of dwindle and disappear. So
that's why it's
if we can get a nice big
swaths of them,
yes,
and
also
especially when we can also use them for gaming.
And I also want to say that this particular area, the large pieces are such exciting projects because of climate change and corridors for wildlife and resiliency in the landscape. So when we get hit with a drought, when we get hit with excessive rain, when we get hit with storms, the more intact the landscape is, the more resilient it is to recover from that, which we don't think of.
We already see bears all around Fitchburg, bear sightings, whereas normally they'd just be living in their own little forest and they wouldn't need to come up in your porch. But as we develop the land more, the wildlife also move.
Right, and there's innumerable kind of benefits that you don't really appreciate until you lose them. Water filtration, air purification, carbon sequestration, all of those things. I mean,
they paid paradise and made it a parking lot?
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, with the small amount of time that we have left, 4 minutes, do you want to give a pitch or talk a little bit? We want to return to
about TerraCorps
for just a minute.
Can we throw out the TerraCorps that we have on the screen, right on the main screen, please? There we go. TerraCorps, not corpse. TerraCorps.
I know.
It's a common misconception. So I am actually currently a TerraCorps member, which, as we said before, is part of AmeriCorps. And the program is really exciting because it places people who want to do a year or so of service with nonprofit organizations like North County Land Trust. TerraCorps works within the Massachusetts area, and they work primarily with land conservation.
Hence Terra.
Yes, as well as urban agriculture and environmental justice. And so they're always looking for more nonprofit organizations who want to get involved, who want to host a TerraCorps member, and they also always are advertising for new positions every year.
TerraCorps is advertising.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So Robin, so we're a host site for TerraCorps, and we've had
some great interns.
I know, I know, and they're every year they do amazing work, and they're really committed to that service portion of it. So we
the
find
accessible trail is a great legacy.
Yeah, and they're
or mobility friendly. Mobility
friendly. That's we're coining that term. And so every year we look for another TerraCorps member, and we'd love to get local applicants. So if you're
where do you come from, Robin?
I went to school in the Pioneer Valley, but I'm originally from Colorado.
Yeah.
So not local.
Not local. But we would love, we love Robin, despite her not being local, but we would love to get applicants who are from the area and want to give back to their community. And TerraCorps and AmeriCorps in general does a really great job of giving you professional skills and professional, like you can bulk your resume up really nicely if you do a year of service with TerraCorps or 2 years of service with TerraCorps.
So if you're interested in doing this, you know, in being the executive director of the Land Trust,
oh sure,
you know, then you can get it. You can get your foot in the door with TerraCorps.
Absolutely. Actually, the woman who we're working with at Mount Grace, who is their director of land conservation, started out as a TerraCorps service member for Mount Grace.
Perfect.
And so if it's something that you're interested, there are service sites across the state. You don't have to apply to North County Land Trust, although we are a fun bunch to work with.
Obviously.
But I would encourage anybody who's interested and who lives in the area to
and you can go to TerraCorps.org. That's TerraCorps.org. And there might be links on the North County Land Trust.org site, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yep. On the
Perfect.
If there aren't, we'll get them up there.
All right. Any last pitch that we have in our 20 seconds before we end our show?
20 seconds. Let's see. Membership. We rely on membership. And
so become a member of North County Land Trust. I'm a member.
Yes, and thank you. And we also love volunteers or any. If
And
you
you can find all that information at the northcountylandtrust.org website.
Come join
and on
us.
the Facebook page.
Yes.
There's always opportunity to volunteer. And you know what? You meet the best people when you volunteer, because those are the people that are like you.
Yeah, that's right.
They're community involved. So thanks so much for watching, discussing Fitchburg Now, and we'll see you next week.
Yep.